Bonjour! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Fasten up your seatbelt and enjoy this journey into Mia's world with Lamia Mulai.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Me as Well. Today's guest is not only a dear friend of mine, but he genuinely changed my life. And he's the founder of the Mulai Community. If you've been listening for the past episode, I've been mentioning about Mulai a trillion times. And today I have the founder with me, Ian. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you for your
having
time.
me on. Appreciate being here.
Thank you for being here. It's such an honor to have you because you genuinely changed my life. And
So good to hear that.
We'll talk a bit more about that. But I have a tradition. Whenever I start introducing my guest, I'm always very curious about their early years. So how it all started, what brought them in Dubai, So tell me a bit more about your early years.
How far back do you want to go?
Let's go up to childhood. How was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
So first things first is I'm one of 5 children, and I'm the youngest.
Nice.
And I grew up on a farm
in
the middle of nowhere. We had a small farm, so I was surrounded by livestock. We had a lot of animals, from goats to pigs to sheep and chickens and on donkeys and all sorts. And it was a beautiful environment, honestly speaking. Perfect place to bring up a child, running free, wild, woodland and lots of greenery. And being the youngest of 5 children, it was a beautiful experience, really, because I got to learn. I got to see not only how to live life, but also what not to do. So I got to benefit from their knowledge and their experience, and also got to benefit from all their mishaps and great escapes as well. My early years were spent running around, probably naked in fields somewhere. And as I grew older, so I think after the age of like 5 or 6, we began moving closer and closer towards civilization. And whilst we did lead quite a rural life up until I was probably age 12, I was very much living a chalk and cheese life. So on one hand, I was this country boy going to a beautiful little private school surrounded by nature and animals. And on the other hand, my dad, who is born and bred East London, and for those listeners out there that know anything about that part of the world, then they'll understand. Traditionally, East London boy, he ended up in the fish and chips trade. So very English.
We love a fish and chips.
Yeah, we love a fish and chips. So we had fish and chip shops, and we had a video shop as well, like, the old school rental. So I was growing up half of my time in the middle of nowhere, and half of my time in these little estates and parade of shops where it wasn't so nice, let's put it that way. So a lot of my summer holidays during school were spent there, because my dad could just kind of keep an eye on me to some degree. I could sit in the shop and watch movies, but equally I could be out there playing with all the kids, and that taught me some really valuable lessons from a very, very young age, and I'll tell you why. So on one hand, I'm at a private school around very wealthy people, old money, I like to call it, going to beautiful birthday parties in buildings that are centuries old with like secret passageways and like all these wonderful things. And then on the other hand, I'm on a council estate in the middle light of a ghetto, basically.
Yeah.
Surrounded by naughty boys.
Hood, like we call it.
In the hood. And so at a young age, I learned to be a chameleon, basically. I learned to be able to, I had to survive. Otherwise I'd have been bullied pretty badly, in those environments. But it was an interesting time because it was teaching me not only how to, keep safe and protect myself, but it also helped me understand how to relate to all walks of life. And it took me out of a bubble. It opened my eyes to more than what I was just being exposed to. And let's be honest, most parents, they want to shelter you, they want to keep you, in a certain place, exposed to certain things. But when those blinkers come off, often people aren't prepared for that. So I was quite fortunate in the fact that I had a very colourful upbringing. And as I mentioned, on top of that, I was also living life through my siblings' eyes as well, and having a lot of shared experiences there. The other good thing through my childhood was travel. We, as a family, we travelled quite a lot, and I truly believe that travel is probably one of the richest medicines in terms of knowledge, learning, understanding. And just making the world feel like a much smaller place. So there was that. As I got into secondary school, it was probably one of my biggest challenges in my early years, because I left primary school and went to a secondary school where none of my original school friends went to. So I had to start again. Which pose certain challenges, and kids are mean. They can be hard.
They can indeed.
And so I kind of went from cloud nine to a place that I wasn't familiar with, and I had to face a lot of challenges during that period where I really had to navigate it on my own to some degree. It was obviously the cutting of the cord. Yes, I would reach out to my mum and dad sometimes if I was in a really low spot, but often I was dealing with a lot of things on my own. And I'm happy to say that all of those struggles, they made me who I am today, and this is what builds you strong. Coming out of that and moving into higher education and then work, I quickly began to realize that for me, I wanted to work with people, first things first. I remember our careers advice back in secondary school, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. And someone said, "Oh, what about social work? Do you want to be a social worker?" I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And I kind of had this idea of, me being able to help other people, because I always found myself doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Within my friend circles, within my family. Even as the youngest member, I'd have my older siblings coming to me. So it was always a case of that natural ability to relate and help. And during my kind of leaving school and leaving the nest, leaving home, I also began my martial arts journey as well. So there was a lot of things happening all at the same time, from the discipline of martial arts and the consistency, to the standing on your own 2 feet and learning and understanding, to finding my first love, and going through that whirlwind and up and down, which also taught me a lot, to also getting into the world of business and the world of money and having to manage yourself in that manner. So no one prepares you for that.
I agree.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so true.
as much as your schooling life gives you an education and helps you in that manner, no one really gets you ready to tackle a lot of the things that you're going to face in life. So I was kind of bumbling my way through, learning as I was going, as we all do, or most of us. And equally, I was also in a relationship where I was desperately trying to help that person heal and become the person that I believed that she could. And so with my naivety and my intention of trying to be that help, my kind of first love turned into me being pretty much a social worker.
Yeah. It's incredible, because I'll tell you more about why I'm smiling after, but there's a lot right now that I can relate, and it's funny because I didn't even know your early years.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly. So 10 years I tried. 10 years I struggled, and also through that time I begun realizing just how fortunate I was. When you learn other people's stories and you understand people's struggles, it makes you look back and reflect on your life, and it puts everything in perspective. And yes, of course, we all have struggles and we all have challenges, and they can feel like the biggest and the worst things that are happening in that moment, because ultimately it's happening to you, no one else.
Exactly.
However, perception and perspective are two very different things, because when you do take that step back and when you do listen to other stories and you do see other people's life, you begin to change the way that you're perceiving your own, and you typically start to look at your cup as half full rather than half empty, and you start to see the gifts and the abilities that you have to make a good life for yourself.
I agree.
So I was very much around somebody that was a victim, and that embodied a victim mentality for a very long time, and it helped me understand that ultimately, if you want to rise out of that, if you want to be away, if you want to get out of that, you have to ultimately re-identify and change the way that you, number one, the relationship that you have with yourself, and how you view the struggles and challenges that you face in life, and number two is really to take stock of all the things that you can be grateful for, and it's so easy to do that.
I know.
Like, sometimes people say, but this, and they become so focused on this particular thing.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start to practice gratitude on a day-to-day basis, and your mindset is conditioned to look at life with gratitude, everything changes.
I agree.
You don't look at life in the same manner. You don't look at the world in the same manner, and your viewpoint of the world changes dramatically, and the energy shift is huge with that, because your state is ultimately starting to attract rather than push away or attract the wrong things.
Yes.
So to kind of bring it to a close to some degree, I had a very chalk and cheese lifestyle, and I had a lot of challenges and a lot of ups and downs, a lot of things I had to face, but I also had a great foundation to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I'm super grateful for that. I think I was one of the very few children in my class at secondary school that still had their parents together.
Yeah.
How sad is that?
I know, right?
And again, it makes you look at your life and go, wow, thank you. You know what I mean? Thank 100%. You for giving me that that safe base where I can come back to, and you know, even if I'm not feeling great, I know that I'm safe. And a lot of people don't have that. So hopefully now you're getting a deeper picture in terms of why.
Oh my God. Honestly, I must say, I mean, obviously I knew how Mulai was founded, but I never knew your story. And this is the reason why I always like to ask it. It's a bit selfish because I want to know more about the people that are in my life in general. But surprisingly, once again, I can say I can understand what you're saying and somehow even relate. Because obviously, I'm born in Madagascar, grew up in Mauritius, mom's Mauritian, dad's from Madagascar. Two very different, even though they're close to each other, but it's two different cultures.
Yeah.
One thing I struggle with, and I think I only found out when I moved to London, but I want to ask you, how did you know who was the real you? Because for me, I didn't know, because I could be that girl, I'm Lamia as such in Mauritius, and I was someone else in Madagascar. And now that I take a step back and I analyze it, that's how I see it. And that's the reason sometimes my dad's like, oh, you've not the same anymore, you've changed. I was like, yes, obviously, because I took a step back. You know, you tend to conform to the cultures and the social standard in each places to, like you were saying, to fit in, to be like a chameleon.
To survive.
It's survive
it's
and be
survival.
Exactly.
And our instincts always guide us in that regard.
Exactly.
And hence why environment is a huge part of wellness.
I agree.
If you're looking at living a happy, healthy, you know, well life, environment is a massive part of that. And I know we're going to come on to this topic in regards to my move to Dubai and so on, but look at the difference.
Yeah.
And before I left the UK, I was sat there really looking at what was happening. First of all, I also looked at my friend circle, a lot of which I'd grown up with over the years, and you know, they'd gone down their own path, and I was looking at the construct of life in England and the way that the country was being run and how, you know, and where it was going, you know, because you lived in London. And whilst you may look at it with rose-colored spectacles, because you were, you know, only there for a short time, I probably, you know, was a little bit more, it worn thin over 28 years of my life in England. And I just felt that I was treading water, and that I was surviving.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to just be surviving. I wanted to live. And I knew that in order for me to really do that and to fully embody the person that I want to be, I had to be in a place where I could reinvent myself. Not in a false or inauthentic manner, but I'm talking about really getting back to my core values in terms of who I am and how I want to live, as opposed to being a certain way in order to survive in an environment. And so when I moved here back in 2007, I was leaving behind very little. My mum and dad at the time were living in Spain.
Okay.
So they had already fled the nest.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends at the time, they were not in a good space.
Okay.
You know, they definitely made some bad choices, and I didn't want to be around that at all. I was working a good job. I was earning good money. I had some, you know, great friends as well, and I was, you know, social. I had a good social life as well. But I didn't feel like I was moving forward. I didn't feel like I was learning enough. I didn't feel I was growing enough, and I didn't feel I was having the experiences that I wanted to. And I started my journey into reconditioning the mind and wellness, and, you know, being a stronger, better person quite early on. I remember 21 years, I was probably about 21, 22 years old. I was in a very low point of my life. With that 10-year relationship, there was a lot of ups and downs, very rocky. I had just come out of hospital for a minor operation. I was without a job. I was living with a very good friend of mine who was highly successful at the time. And I was like on my knees, basically. So the polar opposites were there to see and really feel. And a friend of mine came to me and he had burnt me these CDs. And he said, look, have a listen and get past the American accent. It's okay. Just have a listen. And maybe it will change the way that you're currently viewing life and thinking. So I was at home, nothing much to do apart from helping around the house and doing my chores. So whilst I was doing that, I had my CDs on, and it was Tony Robbins. I'm sure we all know Tony Robbins.
Yes. He changed my life too.
Oh, really?
I will tell you more about it, but God.
So yeah, there I was listening to Awaken the Giant, Personal Power, and a whole bunch of other ones. I think I completed everything that he ever did. And of course, he's a wonderful storyteller. He's an incredible coach for linguistics, helping you understand and become more aware of how you're getting your message across. And so at this low point of my life, I was faced with a choice. Either I go and sign on and become part of the system, or I pick myself up and attack it again and go hard. So of course I'm going to take the latter. So I went to the job centre with an appointment for me to sign on, and I said, I'm not here to do that. My pride tells me that that's not possible. Print me off any jobs that you have in sales and marketing. And so they did, and I walked away with a little pile of paper. And the first person I called, I spent half an hour on the phone to. Great conversation, putting a lot of my newfound skills into practice, whether it be consciously or subconsciously, I'm not sure at the time. And by the end of the call, I'd got the job pretty much. I went to see him the following morning just to shake hands and have a face-to-face, and I started my new job the following week. And I was set this task to sell to people over the phone, ad space basically on a website, but to tradesmen, to bricklayers and painters and these guys. And at that time, I mean, we're going back a long time now. At that time, these guys, most of them didn't even own a computer. So they were complete technophobes. They didn't understand it, and it's always hard to sell anything to anyone when they don't understand it.
100%.
Anyway, me being me, I found a way, and I, understood them in order for me to understand how to, bring them forward. And within a month, I'd sold the whole lot.
Wow.
So I'd basically made my job redundant within the first month of being there. To which, rather than my manager at the time turning around and saying, well, I'm sorry, we're going to have to let you go because there's nothing else to do. He said, I've sold this business, and me and you are going to start another business together.
Oh, that is beautiful. It's incredible.
And he walked me upstairs. We were working in a business centre at the time. He walked me upstairs to this massive office. And I looked at it and I was like, this can fit like 50 people. Like, what are we going to do with all this space? And he was like, don't worry, we're going to fill it. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. And anyway, so the business concept got rolled out. Again, it was just kind of making what we were doing on a local level more nationwide. And I begun helping him recruit people, train people, and mentor people throughout their journey. And none of which I'd ever done before, and all of which was out of my wheelhouse. So I was literally signing up to every single email newsletter to find out more about sales and marketing.
Okay.
I was dialing into calls where I'd listen into like not webinars, but seminars on sales and on marketing and free marketing tips and all of these different things. I was literally sat there on my lunch breaks doing these things, writing everything down frantically, and then building sales programs for my team.
Okay.
And it got to a point where I was recruiting 10 to 15 people a week.
Wow.
And we grew the sales team from 0 to 150 people solid within a year and a half. So I'd gone from my lowest point in life, where I had literally nothing, to a real peak. And it wasn't about the money at all. It was more about the achievement.
Yes.
It was more about proving to myself I can. And it was also because it wasn't easily attainable, and I had to work for it, and I had to learn new things. It was so much more rewarding in that manner.
Yes, I agree.
Plus, it was also helping me exercise discipline and consistency. And you're going to hear these words over and over again because this is what I believe in. Plus, it was an intention. There was a lot of intention behind it to help people, to enable people and to bring them out of wherever they were. And even if they weren't going to stay around for too long, that's okay. At least I knew they would be walking away with a set of skills that I didn't have in the first place.
Yeah.
So I would recruit a lot of people that had never sold a thing in their entire life, and literally take them and train them, and some of them would be the best that I ever had. So that whole experience was huge for me, and it was a big stepping stone in terms of how my life changed direction, because those lessons and that experience and what that showed to myself internally changed the way that I spoke to myself and the way I dealt with myself. Yeah. So my voice within was way more positive than it ever had been, and my self-worth and the way I viewed the world around me as well also adjusted.
I agree.
So from there was nothing really stopping me other than me.
Yeah.
And I was just an opportunist after that. I was really trying to look at, okay, how can I break free? And it wasn't instantaneous. It took a while. I went through a few other jobs and worked up in London and spent time in some great companies and with great teams and great people. But all the while I was like, this isn't it. This isn't it.
There's more to it.
There's more to it. And so I was working at a great company. I just joined them. And during my gardening leave in between one job to another, I'd put my CV out into the market and told recruiters, I'm interested in overseas work. Okay. And I was thinking Canada, Australia.
Yeah.
Dubai wasn't even on my radar at that point. And I'd kind of forgotten about okay, I'd start my new job now. My focus was there. And then I'm on the train and I bump into a friend of mine who I used to work with back in the sales house where I built the team.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Sheena, I haven't seen you for ages. What have you been up to? She goes, oh, I live in Dubai now. I'm like, oh, okay. So she was telling me all about it. Her husband was also there with her, who also used to work with me. And they were like, look, just come. You won't look back, you won't regret it. So I like to mitigate risk. So I was like, oh, I can't just get on a plane and go.
Yeah.
The recruiter started contacting me. It was all energy, I guess. I was thinking about Dubai now and researching it. And then all of a sudden I'm starting getting calls from the recruiters. Have you thought about Dubai? We've got these opportunities there. And so I started to entertain it, go through recruitment processes and get offered opportunities. And a few weeks later, I was on a plane with one suitcase and a few £1,000s in my pocket, and that was it. I was leaving my old life behind. I'd shed everything, and I'd pretty much got rid of so much that the door was not open anymore. Like I'd closed it. So I had to make it work. And that was the pressure I was putting on myself. Is, this isn't if it doesn't work out, I'll just pop back.
No, this is forward.
I'm breaking free now, and I'm going to make it work. And so my journey in Dubai began. And as most people, I'm sure a lot of the people that are listening can relate to this. If you've ever moved country, or if you ever, changed your location, you'll be posed with a lot of different feelings, challenges, opportunities, and people navigate it in different ways. So when I first arrived, I was arriving at 3:00 in the morning in August, and it was 45 degrees outside as I got off the plane onto the tarmac, and I was like, what have I done? But I was excited. I was full of excitement. I can't remember a time where I've been more excited. And I got to my hotel apartment, and I kind of unpacked, and I was like, right, this is day one, this is it. The following day, my friends came and picked me up and gave me a little tour around. And then the day after that, I was off to my first day at work. And it was at that time I was like, right, okay, I've got an opportunity here. First of all, I can choose my friends. Beautiful. Secondly, I can choose my environment. I can choose where I want to live and who I want to live with. Thirdly, I can really design how I want to spend my time outside of that for me. Any personal passions or projects that I wanted to work on, I could also do that too. So I was very mindful. I was very kind of conscious of like, right, okay, this is turning over a new leaf. This is not a new opportunity, a new chapter. And so after that, I had surrounded myself with some beautiful people. Life was great. I was having the most incredible weekends. It was like being on holiday, but working at the same time. So I was really, really loving life. And I think it wasn't until a year after I arrived that I woke up and thought, I actually live here. This is my home, you know. Because up until that point, I just felt like it was one big extended holiday. And then the recession hit.
Okay.
And everybody left.
Yes.
So all of those wonderful people that I was telling you about, 90% of them disappeared.
Okay.
And the whole shape of Dubai changed. Almost overnight. I mean, it was over a course of a few months, but it was a very different place, and it was a lot harder to survive. So I went through my challenges here. There was one time where I was out of a job, living on 6 dirham shawarmas a day, teaching Muay Thai in the evenings to make ends meet. Luckily, I have some skills that I could fall back on, but it was tough. It was really, really difficult. And again, I'm super grateful for those trials and tribulations, for those tough times, because without them, it wouldn't make me who I am and how I can be. And it wouldn't give me the same level of trust that I have in myself and my abilities.
I agree.
So from there, it was another kind of restart, another reset to my system and my direction. And I started to build businesses here. I started to follow my passion in terms of helping others. And at the time, it was teaching people how to fight, which was through the Muay Thai. And life was good. Life was very, very good. And then came my true purpose, which was what I'm doing right now, which is running a wellness community. And that didn't just happen. it was a journey.
How did you even think about having a community?
I didn't.
Okay.
I'm being very honest with you. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It was COVID times, and that experience for me going through COVID was incredibly difficult.
Another tough challenge.
I'll tell you why it was more difficult than probably most of my other challenges is because, one, my son was a year old at the time. He was covered in eczema from head to foot. And my wife and I weren't really sleeping too much. Plus, our only topic of conversation was, what could it be?
Yeah.
At the same time, all of that was going on. We were in lockdown, which was a blessing, by the way, given the circumstances at home. We were getting pressured by all of the powers that be to do what they wanted us to do.
In what sense would you say that?
Well, I mean, experimental vaccines is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
Just living and being a certain way. You had to conform ultimately. 100%. And that whole situation, it didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I was seeing the impact it was having on my fellow human beings. I was seeing how it was affecting people's livelihoods, affecting people's life, their ability to connect with others. And there was a lot of sick people during that period, very depressed, very anxious, people that were losing their mind.
100%.
I was very lucky, having a family, even though it was tough times at home. At least I had people around me. Other people I knew were living on their own, with nobody to speak to. They weren't in contact with people, other than over the phone. And often, well, even looking back 4 years ago, mental health and mental wellness wasn't at the forefront like it is today.
Exactly.
And I think vulnerable conversations weren't so easy to be had.
I agree.
And even today, it still needs to become...
Still, exactly. I feel this is still a topic that people still struggle, be that... maybe it's also, I think, society in general makes you like... I often say, for example, for women, you have to be that girl, And also men, they think it's all about portraying a tough man. That's what a man is. And obviously, I think that's the reason why people struggle to have those vulnerable conversations and just be bluntly honest.
Well, to every man out there, being tough doesn't mean storing and burying emotions.
Yes.
That isn't tough because you may think it is, and that may be what your belief system is or what you've been made to believe. But ultimately, being tough is just not that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if you can connect with your emotions and you can embrace them rather than push them away and put them down, and you can find other people to talk to that will receive you well,
exactly.
then actually, the growth that you can get from that is massive. So look, getting back to how it all began, I needed to snap myself out of how I was feeling at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at Wim Hof and this whole method that he created.
Yeah.
I was looking at a number of other life coaches and NLP practitioners, and looking at a lot of different schools of thought in terms of psychology and in ways to maneuver. And I like action.
Yeah.
I think that about me by now. Decision and action is always my key go-to whenever I'm in a place where I know something needs to change.
Exactly.
So at that point, I had to make a decision, and that decision was, I am going to be the healthiest I can possibly be. I'm going to improve my immune system. I'm going to improve my mental health. I'm going to improve my physical body. I'm going to improve my environment. And I'm going to improve the relationships and the people that I have around me. For me, that's health. It's not just physical.
I completely agree.
I begun that journey, and a part of that was delving into breath work. Breath work wasn't something that I was new to either. Going through years and years of traditional Shaolin Kung Fu, breath work was part and parcel.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was different style, but more of a movement-based qigong, and also still meditation.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So breath was something I was quite kind of used to. Plus, my mum and sister are both yoga teachers, and so the pranayama and the breath work that they did was also something I'd been exposed to. So getting deeper into the breath was wonderful for me. I loved it, and it was my time out.
Yeah.
Which was, again, at that point, given the pressure cooker of life, I was really enjoying taking those little moments away from everything. And then the ice was complementing that beautifully.
Did you struggle the first time you did your ice bath?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But it was very momentary.
Okay.
Because as soon as I felt that struggle, I channeled and I thought about my son, and the strength that he needed with what he was going through at the time, and being a baby and not being able to communicate and everything else. And I really sat there and I looked at all of the things that I was unhappy with. I remember this moment like it was now. And I was thinking about all the things that I was unhappy with at the time. And I was just channeling like positivity towards that and strength because I needed it.
Yeah.
And I came out and I felt great. And, the initial kind of dump of adrenaline hits you, and you go back home and you have a great sleep, and you wake up the next day and, you start
fresh.
again.
Yeah.
And over the coming week, I was going, and I was starting to use the tool of breath.
Yeah.
In my day to day, and I was using like very simple tools, the box breathing and just some simple tools to regulate my nervous system and keep my stress levels down. And then my body was calling for it again. So I went back again.
Okay.
And I went back again. And I went back again. And I said to myself, well, this is a tool. This is, I was going on many different journeys with this tool, from the breath to the ice. And I said, right, I need this tool in my life. So I went out, got myself an ice bath, got myself set up, and I said, right, it's no fun doing it alone. And I want more people to benefit the way I'm benefiting. So I'm going to open my doors. And initially it was just to my friends. I'm going to open my doors every single week, and whoever can make it
comes and enjoy it. Yeah.
And of course, at that time, it's not like today where, there's an ice bath in every corner.
Yeah.
At that time, people thought I was completely mad.
How many people came the first time that you invited everybody?
Well, I'm a good salesman, so maybe I had around 6 people, 6 friends or something like that. They were hard to convince, but I got them in. We had a great time. Most of them didn't come back though.
What was their reaction? What did the first time?
Shock. Look, we were all starting out.
Yeah.
None of us really knew how to guide or help, or we didn't know the science behind it. We hadn't looked into it really. It was all very like, we were just just going with it.
Yeah.
Playing with it. I began giving it a lot more time and attention, thinking about it a lot more, and being more artful in terms of my approach. And I began realizing, outside of the guidance of breath and holding space and looking after the environment, and helping people through what can be a very tough, challenging and sometimes traumatic experience with the ice, I began realizing that one of the real magic elements of what we were doing wasn't that. It was the coming together.
Yes.
It was coming together and also being in a place which forced you to be vulnerable and be open. So as the community, I wouldn't even call it a community at that point, as I kind of opened my house weekly, I think for the first year, by the way, just to put it in perspective, for the first year, some weeks I was getting like 2 people, and other weeks I'd be getting like 6 people, but a busy weekend would be like 8 people.
Okay.
8 to 10 people, and that was consistent for the first year, and I was charging very little, so it wasn't about that. It was never a case of like, I'm going to build a business out of this. This was not a business idea. It was an intention, and the intention was to be part of the solution. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that by doing that, I was going to be setting an example for my son, and for those people around me that also had similar intentions, but with no action. So year 1 in the bag, reflecting back, we'd created some beautiful experiences. We had some wonderful learnings. I had grown into holding space and facilitating and guiding those sessions authentically. And I'd never tried to be something that I wasn't. And for me, that is, I always hold myself accountable in that regard, because for me, authenticity is king out of everything.
100%.
If you want to live a life that you're truly happy living, be yourself.
Thank you.
Providing you know what that is. And if you don't know what that is, and if you are struggling to find who am I, then go to places like this to discover. The community is one massive hug. Outside of the numerous hugs that you're going to get, the feeling of being there and being surrounded by people that are there with the same intention is one hell of a beautiful thing. So the intention was always to be part of the solution. I didn't know where it was leading. I didn't know how I was going to, continue to add value. At that point, all I had was like a breath work and an ice bath. And then it just began to evolve. And I just went with whatever I felt. And every single week I had no idea what it was going to be. And I would walk into the garden and meet some people for the first time. And I would just channel and flow. And 4 years later, we're sat here now, you being a consistent member of the community and, having had a lot of wonderful experiences there. We're sat here now, we're almost at 1,000 people, which has been purely organic. We have never spent a dirham or a dollar on advertising. We have purely allowed it to take shape and grow on its own. I never wanted it to be about me either. I didn't want to be like, the face of Mulai, and you can probably tell that from the social media. I like to take a back step because for me, Mulai is not about my community. This is about a platform for people. It's about a place for people. It's about a feeling that we can give to each other, and a support and a knowledge that we can also share with each other, that is going to help people move through life with a spring in their step and with an energy that they can carry day in, day out, which is actually truly liberating, fulfilling, and in its essence it's love and it's happiness. So my mission is happier, healthier, and more connected. If I can give that to people, if I can help more people get on that path, then I'm very, very happy, and I will pass over to whatever other side it is, a very happy man, knowing that my legacy has been that, and so I'm hell bent on that now. And having watched all of these stories unfold in front of me over the last 4 years, which there have been many, I can honestly tell you that I'm in a space now where I know what my purpose is, which is a beautiful thing to be in that space, especially coming from the childhood of not having a clue, kind of feeling my way through life for many, many years. And I'm 45 now, so at this stage of my life, to be finally finding my purpose is great. Exactly. So the goal now is to continue the work, to continue to let it unfold, to really help people understand that they can do it too, 100%. And to inspire more people to go out there and be a part of the solution. Don't rely on me or anyone else for that matter. Rely, back yourself to do it. If you're seeing things in the world that you don't like, do something about it. Yep. If you're feeling a way every single day that you're not happy about, do something about it. As you, for the listeners out there, Mulai means to begin. It means to start. And the message in that is do it. Get started, even if it's the smallest thing. What is that small thing that you can do today? Yeah. Is it a 1%. Phone call?
Yeah.
Is it a practice? Is it going to bed on time?
Yes.
Is it, what is it? Is it eating healthier? Is it, speaking your truth and telling people what you really think and really feel?
Exactly.
But there's definitely something
completely
that all of us have.
I agree.
And hence why that weekly practice of the reminder of beginning and starting and taking that step forward and holding each other accountable like we do is an incredibly powerful thing. And now, looking at what we have collectively created, I find my work is becoming that much easier.
Yeah.
Because what we have created as a community is a self-sustaining ecosystem. Yes. And I no longer feel the same weight and burden in terms of everyone's looking to me for answers, because we have so much in the community.
I agree.
And the game changer has been the sharing circles.
Yes.
The sharing circles that we do each week. And if you're listening, don't be scared away from this, because I know it does rattle a lot of cages.
Yeah.
But believe me, it's the most comfortable environment, as you know, that you can possibly find. And the community is a leveler. It brings everyone onto the same page. It brings everyone into a place where they can feel happy and comfortable. And most importantly, we get people into coherence where they can open up and they can be vulnerable. Yep. And they can allow themselves to speak their truth.
I agree.
And with that, people share. And they share things that sometimes they haven't shared with anyone in the world. Okay. And by doing that, what it does is it creates an energy, and it creates a connective tissue that goes through the community. Mm-hmm. And it also inspires people, and it also makes people feel like they're not alone. And honestly, like if there's anything I can really do in life, if I can help people feel like they are not alone, then that's a wonderful achievement. And to everybody out there, you are not alone. There are communities out there that you can come to. Mine is run out of my home, and I'm proud that it's run out of my home, because I want people to feel that they're at home. Mm-hmm. And they are. I open my home authentically and lovingly and honestly. My family are very much integrated with this whole experience. I agree. Whether they like it or not.
But honestly, we're grateful, to be honest, that you're opening your door to us.
Yeah.
It's such a privilege to be able to attend these sessions every Sunday. And I truly, when I say you've changed my life, you really did. And I do mean it, because, as I said, I moved to the UK with literally butterflies, and I was excited, the new life. I always dreamt about living in the UK. I was like, oh my God, this is the best place. Oh boy, did I know that after I think 1 month, I was in a very, very toxic relationship. Stayed with that person for, I think, around a year and a half. Destroyed everything that I've built innocently as a kid. And then I moved to Dubai suddenly because obviously with COVID happening, I couldn't stay in the UK anymore. Moved here unwillingly, just because I didn't want to go home. Struggled again, and I was still very broken. But then obviously slowly I started martial arts, met beautiful people that just made the whole experience so much better. But honestly, I'm grateful for all these people because they helped me a lot unknowingly. And then I remember I had a trip in Bali with a friend of mine. Her name is Julie. And we were talking. And I was telling her about the things that I was struggling with. And she said to me, have you ever thought about hypnotherapy? It's like, not really, but okay. Came back to Dubai and I understood that I had some personal work to do on myself. And it was not on the hands of XYZ. Everything came from within. And I was the only one who could do that. Despite achieving certain things that I've achieved, there was still some mental stuff that I could not overcome. Visited a hypnotherapist, which honestly, she helped me. She helped me to understand the triggers and understand the patterns. And then I remember one day, Erica, that you know very well, who came with me on the first day, we were talking about the Mulai community that we saw online. And I was like, okay, let me just message you and ask you how it works. What's the procedure to come? And it was so nice. You were already very warm, when you were messaging. And then we arrived with literally no expectation. We didn't really know what to expect. So we were like, okay, let's go and see it's all about. And bear in mind, I hate cold water. I am always the one that goes on like very hot water. I hate it. And I was like, okay, this is the time you're going to challenge yourself and just go with no expectation.
Yeah.
We went. And one thing that struck me right away, it was the warmness of every single people. And being in a place where everybody's hugging, I'm a big hugger. And I was like, oh, I love that. Yeah. I could do more of hugs. Like I enjoyed it. And then also suddenly after you introduced you welcomed all of us and you were saying, okay, I remember that time we didn't do sharing circle, but we had to pair up and then talk to each other. And who shouldn't be our friend. So obviously I went with someone else. It was a bit like uncomfortable at the very beginning, obviously because you don't know the person. But slowly I felt like, okay, I can open up to the person. And we started to exchange. And we didn't know that, it was almost time for the breath work. Now, breath work is something that I struggled all my life. My mom, she's very strong at that. But I personally always struggle with this because I'm thinking about, did I turn off the AC? Did I close the door? Are my groceries, what am I supposed to cook for the week? Like I'm thinking of a million things.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, let me just listen to you and to what you were saying. Closed my eyes, started the breath work, and it was unreal. I was like, oh my God, just did that? Wow. And then came the ice moment where I went in. It was I remember the first 20 seconds was very uncomfortable. And it made me kind of reflect on all my life experiences. And I said to myself, everything you've done in life was always uncomfortable, but eventually you become comfortable with what's ahead. And slowly it just felt nice. Despite it's a very weird feeling to describe because despite the uncomfortable, you still feel comfortable. And I remember I came out and then I asked you, I was like, can I go a second time? You're like, yeah, sure, let's go again. And then we went again. And now whenever it's like that moment, I just want to have fun with the ice. I want to push my limit. I'm like, okay, how much can I stay? Or I remember the first time there was one day, I think it was during Christmas time. I was a bit sad, obviously, because I was not with my family, but you made it so welcoming to all of us. It was nice to have like a Christmas with the Mulai family, and it was truly beautiful. I think that I remember that day I told you, I want to go with all in, with my whole head. How do we do it? Like, okay, let's do it. And I remember you asked me to go in and then out. We did it 3 times, and it was absolutely magical. But I will forever remember that feeling I had when I left Mulai the first time. I was 1,000 more positive. My mindset changed completely. And I understood that it's all about the way I perceive and the way I take action, just like you said. And I remember I sent you a message and I told you I feel reborn, because I truly did. That day, I was literally reborn into someone completely new. And over week, every Sunday when I come, I've been comfortable, being authentic, being vulnerable, crying in front of people that may not know me, and I'm like, it's fine, just allow it to be.
Absolutely fine.
And the beauty is that nobody judges you. They're actually here to help you and support you. And it's beautiful when I reflect of all these. We were talking about it last Sunday. It's been 8 months now that I've been coming religiously every Sunday, and more I'm thinking about it, and I can see how I've grown from that shy little girl that came, and I was like, okay, I'm unsure. I'm full of energy and I'm jolly bubbly, but like, you were a bit like uncertain of what to expect. Can I be open? Can I be vulnerable? Can I be authentically me? Because personally, for me, before in the past, when I was vulnerable, I was taking advantage of that vulnerability. So I was always in that shell of like, can I actually open up? Is it safe for me to open up?
To that point as well, this is where creating a safe environment is also our responsibility as a community. And there are a lot of nuances to holding space and to hosting people and to looking after people in a certain way that aren't quite so obvious. And with everything that you've said, I mean, look, I can relate to a lot of it because outside of me watching people go through it, but I also go through that myself, and I see the practices as tools, and the community as ultimately much more than a tool. The community is your feeling. The community is your support system. The community is your knowledge. The community is your love. And we are all reflecting that, on each other.
Yes.
So, yes, you can come and unload. Yes, you can come and whether that be verbally, whether that be physically, whether that be spiritually, cleansing your system and getting rid of, all of these things that you've been carrying around. Exactly. You can release that.
100%.
And then you can replace it with better tools,
100%.
And better energy and knowledge that's going to help change the shape of how you exist. And believe me, like, I didn't go into this having all the answers, but the amount I have learned from the community and from my own experiences over the past 4 years, and just by being playful and creative with my, with the whole practice, it's been unbelievable. It's a complete transformation.
I agree.
And that for me will never stop. I will always be a student. I will always be open to learning. I will always be playful. I will always be creative. And I will always have no expectations. I'll always just keep going forward with the right intention, with an idea or a direction.
Yes.
And I will push towards that. But again, with no expectation, because that unlocks you. That gives you when you're going into something and you have a clear expectation of what's going to happen, you're setting yourself up for a certain feeling, and you're almost taking the magic away.
Exactly.
It's like the kind of off the cuff night that you end up in a place and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Exactly.
Like, never expected this to happen. There's some of the best nights you can have versus the one that you've planned out intricately and you've got every minute of every hour already accounted for,
I completely agree with you. I've personally, whenever I plan certain things, it never usually go how I want it to go. But when you just be like, okay, let's do this at this time. Okay, let's do it. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll just get ready and go. And you will have the most beautiful, like that Sunday. We usually, most of the time, me and Erica, we like to go for breakfast on Sunday. And then we're like, let's try.
Let's skip breakfast.
And let's skip breakfast and let's give it a shot. And we went for breakfast afterwards. Let's do it in the morning and then we'll go for breakfast. Absolutely magical. And the only reason why I keep coming is because not only I'm extremely grateful for everything that you are allowing us to make most of it, and opening your door to us. It's already a big privilege for us, but also it's the beautiful connection. When you see the names coming, this person's going to come. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to see them again. And it's always a joy to kind of come and reconnect. But I like that. And I remember, until now, that's one thing I do every time. Whenever I come to Mulai, I don't even wear my smartwatch anymore.
Thank you.
I put my phone might be with me to take pictures, but I won't even look at messages.
Yeah.
My closest friend would know that from X time to X time, I'm unavailable. I'll come see you after or before. And I'm just present in the moment and I'm absorbing everything. And just being present, it's just the best feeling on earth.
It's one of the things that I love the most about my Sundays is kind of pushing my phone to the side.
Exactly.
And disconnecting for a while. Exactly. And being fully engaged and present with the community. We all need that. But most importantly, what we really need is to check in.
Yes.
Okay. And I remember when I first started joining the men's circles and, through COVID. Mm-hmm. And I was realizing I haven't really checked in with myself on all of these levels ever, like not as, yes, when I've been forced to, but as a kind of voluntary thing to do on a weekly basis or even on a daily basis.
Yep.
But to check in with yourself and to truly be honest
with yourself,
with how you're feeling mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, however that may be, looking at the relationships you have in your life, the friends that you keep, the people that you keep close to you, looking at your environment and, what you've created around you, looking at your day-to-day habits, and asking yourself, are these serving me? Are these bringing me closer towards where I want to go? Being more aware of what your values truly are, and also being aware of what your expectations are.
Yes.
Not only from other people, but from yourself.
Exactly.
Because it all starts with you. And I say to everyone, 1 is the magic number. Like, we put too much responsibility on other people.
Yes, I agree.
And I see it a lot, especially in relationships where they put this person on a pedestal and they make them their be all and end all.
Been there.
And you're, it's unfair on that person.
100%.
And it's unfair on yourself.
I agree.
And I think the one thing I love about the relationship I have and my marriage is that my wife is solid. You know, she doesn't need me to tell her how wonderful she is, because she knows. And same goes for me. So we both don't need that pump up all the time, you know, to make ourselves feel great.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're solid in our own selves. And that creates a whole different energy. When you've done the work and you understand who you are and what you're about, and you can stand firm in that, and you can put your head on the pillow each night knowing who you are and what you're about, and being happy with that, that's where you want to get to.
I agree.
And for all of those single people out there that are looking for love and for looking for, you know, a lifelong partner, do the work.
I agree.
You know, first of all, start with you, okay, and figure out what your values are and what your expectations are from yourself in a relationship and from your partner.
I agree.
And why? Where does it come from? Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, because, you know, I've always wanted, because I love to give love to people, everyone around me. And I remember there was a time where I was like, I want to be in a relationship just to give to that person. But I was hurting myself. And obviously, you put somehow, like we were saying, expectation towards the other person. And when they would not meet that, that's when the relationship would just go down. And I realized that, and that's where the whole work on myself started. I was like, okay, I'm attracting certain characteristic in man, and there's a reason why. And it's not been once, it's not been twice, but it's been like almost 3 times. There's a reason to it, and the issue is not them. The issue is me, and I'm the only one who can solve this. And that's why, since then, I've been doing the work, because I know that I could not give love and be happy in a relationship unless and until I am happy with myself and I can give myself the love that I truly deserve.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are all a work in progress.
Yeah.
We're never going to be complete in that regard. What I would say is again, when you have your values set, when you understand your expectations from yourself, and you start to become less expectant of others, but you also have your boundaries set.
Yeah.
You understand what you're willing to accept and not accept, and you have an intention and an energy that you have, created. Then it all starts to sink into play, and it doesn't become forced anymore. You don't have to go looking as such, because it finds you. You know, I remember clearly the day that I gave up looking, and the day after I met my wife.
You see, that's so beautiful.
The day I gave up looking, the day after I met my wife, I remember the moment clearly. I was in a very, very happy place. I was in Bali.
We love Bali.
We love Bali. I was riding a motorbike across the bridge from Nusa Dua to Denpasar.
Okay.
Sun was setting, beautiful. I was free. I was, in paradise, and I was cruising along and just thinking, I am happy. I am, I am fine. I don't need anyone. And to be in that position is a good space to be in. When you don't feel the need, it actually is the best place you can be, because 100%. Then it's all about the want.
Yeah.
And you're making decisions in a completely different manner. It's not coming out of weakness, it's coming out of strength. So, yeah, I don't know how we got here, by the way, but I do want to share that if you are looking for love, and if you are looking to, whether it's in a relationship or even in friendships, live authentically, be your authentic self, have those honest conversations with yourself, or be in places where you can have those honest conversations, and connect yourself with people, communities. And obviously Mulai Community is not the only one out there. There are other incredible places that people can go. And I just suggest that everyone steps forward and becomes a part of that. 100%. In the olden days, I guess people would use church and would use, those types of gatherings. And let's be honest, before, all the devices and all the screen time and all the distraction, people would sit around a campfire and chat.
Exactly.
And all we're creating in that environment is a similar campfire environment.
I agree.
Where people can sit around and they can talk. And it doesn't always have to be heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be light, fun, entertaining. It can be, sharing experience and knowledge. It can be cracking a few jokes and sharing a laugh together. And yes, of course, it can be pouring your heart out and shedding a tear together as well. So everything goes, but ultimately it's a place where,
you're safe. And
you're safe.
I do agree, because I know that in every sharing circle, for me, the sharing circle, this is how I like to go ahead with it. I like to kind of do a check-in. How was my week? What did I struggle with? What could I have done better? And I like to share it with people, because very often when they start speaking, you're like, I can relate to what you're saying. I've been through that as well. And I think in general, the Mulai community, a lot of people think it's just breathwork and ice bath, but you've got to experience it to understand what it's actually all about, because it's beyond just an ice bath and a breathwork.
I mean, I'm trying to get that message across, and hopefully for the listeners that are out there, they understand now that this isn't your typical
100%.
Yes, you can go and do an ice bath wherever you like, and you will have a variety of different experiences. This is not about that. This is a whole journey.
I agree.
And now we're running the wellness days as well.
Yes.
We're doing the wellness days in collaboration with PXB up at Expo City.
I have the bag.
Beautiful.
It's right there. I've been using it.
and the reason this has been created is to create a platform.
Yeah.
And I see Mulai as a wonderful platform for people to really show off their talents and give their value. So now from the community, we have people that are coming and sharing stories and knowledge through the speaker sessions. We have people that are coming to facilitate different classes and modalities, from yoga to breathwork to sound healing to this to that and the other. We have brands coming in that fit with wellness and health. From healthy supplements to tools and wonderful things just to help you live a happier and healthier life. So all of these elements now are beginning to come into place. And the best part is like I said, it's a self-sustaining ecosystem. The community is stepping forward, getting involved, making these things happen. And that's probably one of my proudest achievements. To see that come to life and to see people in their power doing what they love and giving it to more people. That makes me very, 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 very happy. And so may it continue. The wellness days will continue for the rest of the year. We'll be having a huge festival later in the year. So there'll be some much bigger things around the corner. And of course, our Mulai Sunday service is going to be a consistent. And you'll be pleased to know that now I'm also opening that up to private one-to-one, so I can be more present in terms of giving people personal journeys and guiding them, in a more tailored manner.
Yeah.
What I'm also doing is opening it to corporates, because look, I can't look back at the corporate world and say, oh, it's toxic and this and that and the other. Again, let's be part of the solution.
Yes.
Let's help.
100%.
I have been running corporate sessions which have been transformative for the teams. It's definitely brought people closer. It's definitely broken down a lot of barriers. So again, if you're a corporate or if you own a business or a part of a business that you can influence, come forward. Let me know that you're interested, because this is something that will transform the team. And then we have sports teams, we have groups of friends, we have families, we have birthday parties. So we're opening the community up. It doesn't have to be, I have to be a part of this kind of exclusive community. You can book it out. You can make it happen. You can even, ask me to design an experience for you, and I'll be happy to do that. So the community the Mulai continues to evolve. We continue to move forward. We continue to embrace different elements. And again, I have no idea where we're heading, but the intention will always remain. And long may it continue.
Thank you so much, Ian. It was really inspiring to listen to your journey and where you've come. And truly, you're doing something absolutely beautiful. And you have no idea how many lives you've changed and helped. And for that, I want to say thank you. And I want to really tell you how grateful I am for everything that you've done for us. Thank you for your authenticity. You are such a pure and genuine soul that it's hard not to relate to, and I truly appreciate that. And listening to your story, understanding from where you came from to where you are now, I think it's a beautiful journey that you have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm super grateful to be here with you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I've seen your journey. I've been watching, everything unfold, and you're beautiful like me. Continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I can't wait for you to be even more involved in the community as we go forward as well.
Yes, because I do want to chat with you after.
I know.
I do want to chat because obviously I'll tell you more about it afterwards. But first, let's work onto that before I end the episode.
Oh yes.
I have a little tradition. Okay. Obviously, it's not that bad, but it is a rapid fire question.
Okay.
They're not really bad. They're deep. They're funny. But I like it. It breaks the ice a little bit.
Let's go.
All right. Cup of tea, cup of coffee?
Oh, right now, tea.
Okay.
Tea is what it's all about.
City life or countryside?
Countryside.
What is your favorite thing about the Mulai community? One thing.
The people.
What's on your bucket list item you want to fulfill this year?
To grow the community.
Okay. What's the one thing you think about when you think about happiness?
The one thing I think about when I think about happiness, that's a tough one. State.
Okay. If you could change one thing about the world right now, what would it be?
To show to everybody that there's no difference. That would be the one thing I would change. When people realize that we're all connected.
Yes.
And we're all the same.
Yes.
And we all share the same feelings and thoughts. And we all have the same emotions. It's a game changer.
I agree.
So bring back humanity, Forget all of these borders, forget all of these passports, nationalities, belief systems.
Thank you.
We are one.
Thank you. That is beautiful.
And it is love.
Exactly.
Love is what guides us all. You see every single week when people come into that garden and we all sit down together, nobody cares about what you're driving, who you are, what you believe in, where you come from,
100%.
what your name is. None of it matters. None of it matters. So I wish for the world that we were leveled out, and we were all connected and moving forward together. Because if we all thought like that, rather than this divide and conquer system that we've got ourselves into, then the world would be a much brighter place. And I think people would be way more motivated to be a part of the solution.
Yes.
Versus, maybe losing faith in any ability that they may have to impact change. And I'm telling you now, we can.
Of course we can. 100%.
All impact change. And even if it's on a small local level or within your family or within your friend circle, you can do it.
100%.
And the thing that I love the most is at the end of every session that we run, I watch people on cloud 9 walk out of the door, going out in a completely different state to what they came in as, and they go out into the world, and that is a ripple effect. It's like dropping a little pebble into the water and seeing that ripple effect, because that energy will go out into the world, 100%. And that energy creates change. So more people that understand that and understand that we are all energy, and that we can change our state and we can get ourselves into that place where we can impact change and we can influence others, then, that was a long answer for a quick fire round, but you get the picture.
It was meaningful and it was true. I loved your answer. It's fine. Last one, which is my favorite one.
Go on.
If you could give one advice to your younger self, which one would it be?
Stay authentically aligned with your values. Because there's a lot of distraction, a lot of things take you off course. I think in certain parts of my life, you have a sense of confusion, and you can get dragged into things or towards situations or people that you shouldn't be. So I think if I could give any advice, I think it would just be to be authentically aligned with my values and not lose sight of that. And that way you have your guide. Yeah.
Thank you, Ian. It was a pleasure, absolute pleasure to have you on board.
Likewise, thank you.
And so where can we find you?
Well, you can find me at home. So for those of you that are listening that want to know more, that want to come and experience what we've been talking about, it's spelled Mulai, Mulai. That's Indonesian for begin or to start. So if you are sat there thinking about doing it, don't just think about it, do it. And then you will be embodying what we're teaching. Mulai.community is where you'll find us on Instagram. Yes. Please do drop us a message. You'll be warmly received. And we look forward to welcoming you.
100%. I'll put all the description, all the Instagram handle in the description box.
Yes.
And thanks again, Ian.
Thank you.
It was lovely.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
On that note, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.